Hey everybody, wake up. This is Wake Up with Mark Joyner, episode number 80. And today we're going to be talking about the Superhuman 6 7-Day Challenge, day 4. All right, so day 4. I want to talk to you guys about a very, very specific thing that you might be struggling with, and it's how to deal with pain. Not like the Superhuman 6 is really all that painful compared to other workouts, but if you're not used to working out, if you're out of shape right now, it's probably extremely painful, and part of it is probably all in your head, okay? I want you guys to start thinking about something. So while you're doing the exercise, here's what most of us do. And this is why most of us don't train our bodies. We're sitting there and we're grunting and we're awfulizing, all right? And I think somehow on some level, this is something that we've been wired and conditioned to do because when we were young, when we would grunt and we would cry, mommy would come out and would make everything okay. Well, mommy's not here now. So this is not a very, very healthy coping mechanism for us, because what it does is it puts us in this situation where we're externalizing our locus of control again, are we not? We're saying, oh, this is really so hard. Oh my God, I'm grunting, I'm crying. Hopefully somebody will notice and tell me to stop. Tell me it's okay to stop. That person isn't there, and stopping isn't the right answer. The right answer is pushing through it, because the only benefit that you're going to get is going to come through the struggle. Okay, Osho says that everything worthwhile in life is on the other side of fear. I think that's a really interesting way to look at things. There's another way to look at things. Everything worthwhile in life is also on the other side of pain often. Pain is almost like a design feature of the universe that's a gut check to see how bad you really want whatever it is that you're striving for. But there are little tricks you can use in your mind to deal with the pain. Now, one of them is you can think about what is on the other side of that pain that you want so bad that you're willing to endure the suffering. Okay, now, by the way, you can take this to great heights. There are people out there who have taken this way, way beyond anything I've experienced. I see men like that, women like that, and I aspire to be them. I have seen people like that. I've been exposed to people like that in my military career, and I always admired them. I always thought, wow, okay, I want to be more like that. I wouldn't get jealous. I wouldn't want to snipe them. I would look at them and I would say, they have something I don't have. I'm facing that right now. How can I get more of that? There's some people who are so damn good at this that it makes them almost indestructible. There was a guy in my officer candidate school class with me. This guy was probably the best all-around leader in the entire class. This African-American guy who was an infantryman as an enlisted man. You know, he was a ranger and he'd gone through all that other stuff. You know, just an amazing, amazing soldier. And one thing I found out about this guy halfway through officer candidate school, while I'm grunting and crying and having a tough time. I had a real difficult time in that class because I went in physically unprepared. I learned that dude had a disc removed. He had an entire disc removed from his spine, and I think they fused the two vertebrae together to make him functional. And I sat there thinking, man, my pain is bullshit compared to what this dude is going through. This is ridiculous. And this guy is probably still struggling and probably still suffering on a day-to-day basis. I can't imagine how you can recover from such a surgery completely. So what part of what guys like that do is they think, okay, I want this other thing off in the future so bad that I'm willing to push myself through this. And it gives you a future orientation rather than a right now orientation. That is one coping mechanism you can get involved in. Another one you can do is the complete opposite. You can focus all of your attention on what's happening right now in the moment. Okay, and what does that do for you? Well, sometimes the pain that you're experiencing is not as intense as you're making it to be, right? Because all that crying and awfulizing and whining is actually making you experience greater pain than you're going through. So sometimes what you need to do is you need to sit there and get in your head and go, okay, let me get into my pain. Let me own my pain. How bad is this pain? What kind of pain is it? You got to learn to distinguish certain types of pain, by the way, because if you're tweaking something, right, if you're moving something in a biomechanically incorrect way and you're causing injury, you don't want to push through that. That's a whole different thing. Now, this is a double-edged sword. You got to be really careful here because you might start identifying all pain as that kind of pain, as injury pain. You got to be very careful of that. Sometimes it's deceptive. Very recently, with a workout that Thomas put me through, I thought I pulled something in my lower abs because I was in so much pain the very next day. But then I realized it was just DOMS. DOMS stands for delayed onset muscle soreness. Okay, that's that sore feeling. It's a good feeling, by the way. It tells you that you got a good workout in. But sometimes that soreness is so intense that you can barely move the next day. So I had trouble lifting my leg up because my lower abs were so sore. Now I thought that next morning, oh man, I think I have an injury. But it turns out I didn't. I was just, I'm pretty much healed now. I got maybe another day or two of healing before all that soreness goes away because it was a serious ass kicker, I got to tell you. Probably the toughest workout we've done together yet. But this is the thing. You got to start to learn how to distinguish these things. And there's no hard and fast rule. All right, but often when we are in the middle of doing a workout and we really, really want to quit, we can actually go much, much further. Now I'm going to tell you a story about one time I did this. I was in one of my, before I was an officer and I was in the intelligence community, I went through a school in Goodfellow Air Force Base, and I was going for an award called STRAC. It's skilled, tough, ready around the clock, and you had to have a minimum grade point average. You had to pass all of your inspections perfectly, and you had to get a minimum 290 out of a 300 on your PT test. So I thought that my struggle was going to be on the, I thought that I was going to, I knew that I could probably get 100 easy on my push-ups and sit-ups, but I was a little bit concerned about my run. But I thought I could get the 90 points on my run, pretty easily. The first event was push-ups. I did my push-ups, and the guy who was grading them, I thought was grading them pretty unfairly because he kept not counting push-ups. By the end of the whole thing, I had a score of 90 on my push-ups. Okay. Now, so what did that tell me? That told me I had to get 100 points on my sit-ups, which was no problem. But then the run, I had to run faster than I had ever run in my life because I had never gotten 100 points on my 2-mile run. So while I was doing it, one of my buddies, this guy Bart Teeter, he was running beside me, and because Bart is like a freak athlete, like this is probably one of the strongest, toughest, baddest dudes I've ever met. Now he ran alongside me and was pushing me. And I was wanting to stop. I was wanting to quit, like literally the whole time, especially after that first mile. That last mile was a struggle. It was a serious struggle. Now, Bart was right there beside me, yelling at me, telling me I could do it, right? Then we got to a point where he had to quit because he wasn't quite in the shape, that he normally is. He let himself get a little bit out of shape. He wasn't as competitive in that class as I am, or as I was in that moment. So I had to break past him, and he told me, he said, dude, I got to stop. You just keep going. You keep going. And I had never run that fast in my life. I had never experienced pain like that in my life, but I made it. I got the 100 points on it. And part of that was me just being there in the moment, thinking about the pain. I was like, okay, what am I experiencing right now? How bad is it really? How bad is it really? Am I wanting to stop right now because I'm going to injure myself, or am I wanting to stop just because it's painful? And if it's just because it's painful, well, pain can be endured. And this gets you to the third point of how to deal with pain. Okay, everything in the universe, it seems, is based on duality. We can't experience joy without experiencing suffering. Why? Because we'd have nothing to compare it to. pain has to be there to be able to experience joy. And if everything were constant joy, it would be ultimate boredom. You'd have nothing to compare it to. And boredom, I think, would probably be a worse thing to experience than the back and forth, up and down, pleasure and pain, duality, dance that we are performing in our lives on a day-to-day basis. So that was another thing I was thinking in my mind was, okay, maybe, I just have to endure this now because there's a greater pleasure for me after this. On the other side of it, when I got that award and I was standing on that stage, that felt so amazing. It's something I can still look at and be proud of to this day. And if I hadn't pushed myself, and if my buddy had not helped me, by the way, I'm eternally grateful to that guy for doing that. If I hadn't pushed myself past that pain in that moment, think of everything that I would have lost. And it was just a couple of moments of extreme pain. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it sucked, don't get me wrong, okay? But it wasn't as bad as I was making it in my mind. I just had to push myself further. I just had to endure a little bit longer. So when you're doing the Superhuman 6, you can use all three of those techniques to push yourself through the pain, because eventually what you're going to do is you're going to want to push yourself a little harder as you do these exercises. One thing that Thomas talks about is that as you do these, you start to learn how to recruit more and more muscle fibers, and it can actually get a little more challenging. You're actually going to work harder as you get better at it, because that neurological connection between those muscle fibers that have heretofore been unactivated are now finally getting activated, and that means you're going to be able to turn more of those muscles on, which means you're going to be able to work harder. So when I do the Superhuman 6 now, I probably am burning more calories. I'm probably experiencing more intensity than most of all y'all who are doing it, because I'm at that point. But I would not have gotten to that point had I not endured so many sessions of it, because sometimes in the moment it doesn't feel good. We want to be comfortable, right? But as the great Wim Hof says, I'm going to paraphrase his quote here because I don't think I have it exactly right. He says, comfort is bullshit. Comfort is bullshit. Getting the best out of yourself, that's the real comfort zone. And how do you get the best out of yourself? Persistence. Persistence is like a laser that cuts through everything. So that's why you have a 7-day challenge. It's teaching you persistence to do it 7 days in a row, because you're going to see something happen inside of yourself on the other side of those 7 days. We've already got people who are experiencing great results just after doing the exercises for a day or two. Why? Because it's turning on muscles that have been turned off, and it's helping them get their bodies in the right position. So there you go, guys. There are 3 different ways to deal with pain. 6 minutes, guys. 6 minutes a day. But think about what's on the other side of this. Think about 2 different paths you can be taking in your life. And think about that person you're going to become if you become that person who wakes up and shows up and does it, pays attention to detail, who does what's required of them, who puts in the work that other people are not willing to put in. You become a person like that, you become valuable to everybody, and you get your self-esteem back. Most of us are being robbed of our self-esteem in this world right now because we are being told to be weak. We are being told to identify with our suffering. We're being told to identify with the terrible lot in life that we have all been dealt. That we've all been dealt, guys. All of us. We've all got our own internal suffering. Okay, maybe your suffering is worse than another guy's. I don't know. You can't know that. But what you can know is that you can flip that whole paradigm up by taking control of your life and not letting any of that stuff define you. All right, guys, you have a beautiful day. I know I am, because I'm going to make it awesome. I'm going to do some amazing things after this. I got a whole bunch of awesome things that I want to get done, because there are things that I am striving toward. There are things I don't want to do this morning, but I'm going to make myself do them anyway.